Hi there! Welcome to episode 1 of Create This Book 2. Yes, I did it. I got a new Create This Book 2 as well, and I will be working on both books in parallel. I'm super excited. There are 100 more prompts in this book, so let's get started. If you watched my Create This Book series, then you know that for the cover, we travel to the infinity of outer space. So I did space art for the cover, both outside and inside pages. And well, I wanted something accordingly cool in the Create This Book too. So my idea was, instead of diving into the depth of space, this time we will be diving into the depth of the ocean. So I was grabbing out my acrylic paints again and choosing some blue and turquoise colors and prep the paper here and try to blend everything. Working with acrylics is still a bit tricky for me. I haven't done that at all in the past. Actually, I really started working with acrylics for this YouTube series. And so, there's still quite a lot to learn for me. I have to experiment a lot and really, do trial and error. But it is fun, and that's the most important thing. So I watched several tutorials and other YouTubers creating underwater paintings. And for me, the hardest part is the light beams that come through the surface. This was already my third attempt that you see here. I messed up 2 already. And this time it didn't go too well either. Like, at first it was way too bold. Then I tried to tone it down with a more bluish color and basically made it even worse. Yeah, and then I even tried to erase them with water and a paper towel. And actually it kind of did look better. Oh my gosh, and then I ripped the paper. But that's okay. I will still use it. I will just tape it on the backside and then hopefully it will look fine. Anyways, I kept going with water and paper towel and then did some final touch-ups, added some bubbles, and I was actually quite happy then with the result. I wanted this underwater scene to continue on the back cover, so I did the exact same thing again, but this time back to front. And as this wiping technique worked so well, I just used it on this piece again. Then I added some bubbles to finish everything off. And the ocean scene was completed. It still was a bit boring, it was missing something, so I decided to add some animals. First I thought about fish or an octopus maybe, but then in the end, I decided to do some jellyfish, and it was quite a lot of fun to paint them, especially the tentacles. Just like for the Create This Book, I didn't color or do anything fancy to the spine. I just glued on some black paper. Alright, and the ocean pictures I just glued on the front and the back cover of the book. The 2 pictures actually show one scene. First I wanted to paint them on one sheet of paper and then just wrap it around the book, but I just didn't have a paper that was large enough. So I ended up painting it on 2 separate sheets of paper and just having some black spine in between. And here is the finished result. It's definitely not perfect, but I think for my first ever acrylic underwater painting, it's okay. Alright, then adding the title. So I just printed out the title page again and cut it out, added some silver metallic gel pen, and I also included the text from the back of the book. Oh yeah, and the little brush I glued into this blob bubble kind of thing. Yeah, and then finally I laminated everything, cut off the excess around the edges, and the cover, at least on the outside, was finished. Okay, time to decorate the inside pages of the cover. I painted this underwater background off camera. And of course, we need something to go on this background. So in Create This Book 1, I added a UFO, so something paranormal. And for this book, I also wanted something mythical or supernatural, so I decided to add a mermaid. I first colored her with alcohol markers and then touched everything up with colored pencils. And in the end, I used a gold metallic gel pen to add some shiny scales and some jewelry and some gold strands in her hair and then even some gold freckles to her skin. So maybe I overdid that a little bit, but it looked fine. The worst part by far was cutting it out because there were so many little details. This took literally forever. Dum dum dum. Ah, finally. Okay, now we can glue her onto the background. It still looked a bit plain. Something was missing, definitely some air bubbles. And yeah, I chickened out. So I didn't use acrylics, but just a colored pencil to add them because I was too afraid to ruin the background. Okay, next I touched up the title with some acrylic markers. And finally outlined the letters with a white acrylic pen. Alright, last but not least, we have to add our name to this page. And if you remember, in the Create This Book 1, I came up with this space-related font that I used to write out my name. So I wanted to do something accordingly in this book. To go with the cover theme, I came up with some ocean-related font. I did this old diving helmet on the J, I added some seaweed to the U, I dressed the L in this sailor pattern shirt and added an anchor, I replaced the I dot with an anglerfish, and I had an octopus sitting on the A. Alright, that's done. Let's glue it in the book. Okay, the page still looks a bit empty, so let's add some more fish. I prepared sketches of a clownfish and a surgeonfish, just like Nemo and Dory in Finding Nemo. And after cutting them out, I glued them in the book. Alright guys, do you remember my rule to write a fun, cool or fascinating fact on each page from Create This Book 1? Yeah, I also want to follow this rule in the Create This Book 2. So let's add a fact about mermaids on the first page. The first documented account of a mermaid sighting was made by explorer Christopher Columbus in 1493, near what is now the Dominican Republic. Today, it is believed that he mistook manatees for mermaids. Perfect. Now I call the title page done. We have one more page left to do. It is the inside page of the back cover. So I've been watching more tutorials and already had some practice on the background for the mermaid, and so I felt a bit more confident at this point to paint an underwater scene. Still, I didn't want to do anything too crazy, so I just did some water with light reflections in it and silhouettes of sea creatures. I chose the stingray and the hammerhead. I think they just have the coolest silhouettes ever. Well, thinking about it now, the sawfish would have also been super cool. The silhouette is amazing. But never mind, I love those two and how they turned out. To make them look more realistic and three-dimensional, I also added some highlights to these creatures. Okay, now for the most difficult and frightening part, the light beams. I was so afraid here because I loved those two sea creatures so much and I really, really didn't want to ruin everything. But I think at this point I finally got the knack of painting those light beams and I was happy with it and didn't have to start all over again. Okay, the last step was to add some bubbles, and here you see the finished piece. I already prepared the page with some double-sided tape, so all we need to do now is peel off the foil and glue it in. I made it a bit larger than the book itself, so I didn't have to be 100% precise when gluing it in, and in the end all I had to do was cutting off the excess paper. Guys, we're already at the end of the video. Let's do our little recap of what we created. As always, thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed this video and that I will see you again next week. Take care, bye!